How many games will the Sean Payton Denver Broncos win in 2023? Russell Wilson, can he get it together? This is a huge season for him. This is my record prediction for the Broncos in 2023, going game by game, week by week, providing my analysis for the Broncos 2023 schedule. If that sounds good, don't forget to spike the like button and let me know in the comment section below how you think the Broncos will perform in 2023. Let's go. Broncos fans, I regret to inform you that I have absolutely no idea how many games the Broncos will win. I'm just being honest. It feels like if I predict this team to win 10 games, they're going to win 7. If I predict them to win 3 games, they're going to win 14. If I predict them to win 14 games, they're going to win 3. It doesn't really matter what I predict for the Denver Broncos because it all comes down to one man, and that's it. His name is Russell Wilson. You traded for him, you paid him, and now you have brought in a credible, fantastic Hall of Fame coach to fix him. But I regret to inform the Denver Broncos fan base that I just don't think Russell Wilson is fixable. From what I saw last year, he is washed. And unfortunately, I think you're going to watch this entire season understanding that fact. That no matter what Sean Payton does, no matter how much they run the ball, no matter how good they are on defense, this team is not going to go to the playoffs. This team is not going to win enough games. Now, that being said, they will be more watchable. They will be more fun. They will win more games than last year because of Sean Payton and the professionalism that he brings and the teaching that he brings and the game plans and the play calling and everything Sean Payton brings. But ultimately, with Justin Herbert in your division, with Patrick Mahomes in your division, you are not winning this division with Russell Wilson the way he is playing. And I don't think that's changing. So before I even predict a game, I want you to know that. That is my perspective. That is my truth. That is my honesty. Now let's go through this schedule understanding that fact and going through the games that I think you could win, depending on what happens, the wild card, the factors, all that stuff. Because there's a lot of them with the Broncos, more than 99% of teams in the league. Okay, so let's begin with week 1. I have the Raiders beating you in week 1. The reason for that is Sean Payton will be new to Denver, right? So the offense is going to have to take time to digest. Russell Wilson has to learn it. It's like nothing he's ever learned before. Defensively, they have a new scheme. So this team is new. McDaniels has been there a year with the Raiders. Jimmy G is new, but he worked in New England under McDaniels for the start of his career for 3 or 4 seasons. So he understands the scheme. I think the Raiders have that edge where they understand what their identity is. The Broncos don't. The Broncos were such a bad team last year. They had no idea what they were. They didn't understand who they are. The Raiders do entering this season. They're an offensive team. They run the ball. They've got the leading rusher. Everything sets that up. They throw it to Davante Adams when they need a play. The Broncos don't know that. They don't know what they are. So, Denver, it's going to be a tough one, but you're going to lose week 1. Week 2, I think you win. I think at home opener, pressure after losing week 1. Russell Wilson will have a good performance. Washington has a very basic defense that doesn't throw a lot of different dynamic looks or blitzes at you. And on top of that, this is Ron Rivera, who Sean Payton knows very well from the NFC South days, right? So I think the Broncos win. Week 3, I got the Dolphins. This could be a sneaky upset type win if your defense comes to play. But Miami is the better team. They're more talented. If Tua's healthy, they should win. Tua, Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, that offense is hard to stop. And based on last year, Based on what I saw from Russell Wilson, he can't keep up in these shootouts, and I think they'll have to in Miami. So I got Miami. Week 4, I've got the Broncos beating the Bears. Justin Fields, I think he is just not it for me. And I think Denver is going to be able to move the ball in this game offensively. I think they're going to be able to run the ball in this game. I think their offensive line is substantially better than the Bears' defensive line. Okay? So I think that's why they win. Week 5, I think this could be a win, sort of an upset win maybe. Like, this is a game that I almost regret picking the Jets initially, but I'm picking the Jets. Now, the reason for that is I like Aaron Rodgers more than Russell Wilson. I believe in the Jets defense more than the Broncos defense. I think the Jets have a legit talent. That being said, I think your coaching staff is much better than the Jets coaching staff. And I think that's ultimately going to be the Achilles heel of the Jets this year. I don't like their offensive coordinator. You guys know who he is. And I don't like their defensive coordinator. Or their defensive scheme, I'll say. I like their defense. I like their players. I like their talent. So I think Denver can win this game at home, but I'm going with the Jets because of my trust in Aaron Rodgers and because of their talent on defense that I do think is going to bring some issues to Russell Wilson. But I will say Russell Wilson is familiar with this scheme because it comes from Seattle and it's also a San Francisco scheme. So that being said, it could be an upset, but I'm going with the Jets. Now, week 6, this is a game that I think is going to be really hard to win. It's on the road. After a tough physical football game against the Jets, you got to play against the Chiefs. Best team in football, the Super Bowl champs, on a short week in Kansas City. So I'm going to take Denver. That being said, this second game against the Chiefs here, week number 8, could be a win. If you beat the Chiefs this year, this is the game I'd circle. It's in Denver. It's the second matchup, so Sean Payton has some tape to study and see what Andy Reid did to his team. All that stuff. He's never played them in week 6 with the Broncos as his football team yet. So I think there's some lack of understanding going into the first matchup, but the second matchup, there's going to be more time to study it. So I feel like I'm still going to go with the Chiefs because they own you guys right now, but I think that second game in week 8 is possibly a win. And if you do win that game, it will tell me a lot about your team. And that's the type of win you want Sean Payton to come in to bring you. Week 7, I'm going to take Denver against Jordan Love, the young quarterback. I think you guys are the better team. Russell Wilson should be able to win that game at home. Then you've got the bye week. Then you play the Bills at Monday Night Football. I'm going to go with Buffalo. Really tough game. Buffalo at home on Monday night. Nearly impossible to win, given the atmosphere, given the crazy fans jumping through tables, Josh Allen, the skill of that football team. Tough to win that game. Week 11, I think you could lose to Minnesota, but I lean towards the Broncos here. I think they've got a good enough secondary and pass defense to slow down Justin Jefferson. And I think the offense, playing a bad defense in the Vikings, should be able to find ways to move the ball. Week 12, I think you upset the Browns. I think the Browns are going to be a good team this year. I think you win this game. Just have a feeling about it. Back-to-back wins versus the Vikings and the Browns. Looking at it, I feel that your offensive line, if you're going to be a good team this year, they need to play well. This is going to be a tough test versus Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, Dalvin Tomlinson, that Browns line. I think you guys can handle them at home. I think you're going to be able to run the ball. And I think your defense is talented enough to make life difficult on Deshaun Watson at home. So I'm going to take the Broncos. Week 13, this is a sneaky potential loss, but I think you're going to win 3 in a row versus the Texans. Texans are a young football team on the rise, but I don't think they have what it takes to beat a Sean Payton team with more talent. Week 14, I'm going with the Chargers in LA. I think you're going to split with the Chargers by beating them in week 17. Ultimately, Justin Herbert, the Chargers, I think the difference here is Broncos better coaching, Chargers probably more talent, better quarterback. But I think the Broncos are able to steal one game at home in late December, January, where in Denver it's going to be cold. the altitude, there's a difference there. Broncos used to it. Chargers not. I mean, not even close. Like, they'll struggle in Denver that time of year. So I'm going to take Denver because I think they'll be the more physical, gritty football team late in the year. Week 15, I'm going to take Detroit to beat the Broncos. One thing that's interesting is Sean Payton and the familiarity with the Lions, because there's a lot of Saints coaching there. So they're familiar with Payton. Payton's familiar with them. They know the ins and the outs. That's kind of interesting to me. But I think Detroit's the better team. I think they've got a really great offensive line. I think their defense will be kind of shaping up by this time. So I think Detroit will win that game on a Saturday. Week 16, I got the Patriots beating Denver. This one could go either way, but I'm leaning towards Belichick. I think New England just has less flaws with their team. I think their offense will be improved greatly due to Bill O'Brien this year. So I'm going to take the Patriots. And then in the final week of the season, versus the Las Vegas Raiders, if the Broncos win, they get to 8-9 and finish third in the division. If they lose, they tie, or they would actually be last, but they tie for last with the Raiders. And ultimately, I have the Raiders winning in Las Vegas. Now, this could also be a win if, Jimmy Garoppolo might be hurt by this point, because he always is. But you could also be playing Jarrett Stidham in this game. I wouldn't even be shocked. You could be playing Jarrett Stidham earlier in the year. But I have the Broncos going 7-10. A lot more respectable than last year. A lot better. I think you have the potential to be a much better team than even 7-10. I think you could be 9-8, 10-7. I think the talent on Denver is a little overrated. I think the receiving core is a bit overrated. I think the defense is a bit overrated. I think some of these players on your team, their better days have passed. I think some of them are getting a little older or past their prime, their peak. But I do think Denver, with the coaching they brought in and with the pieces they have, if they can find an identity early, I think they'll be in a lot of games. I think they will be in a lot of games. But this is a very difficult schedule where you play the best division in football, the AFC East. You play the Chiefs twice. You play the Chargers twice. You play an NFC North. You play some good AFC teams like Cleveland, like the Bills, or they are the AFC East. So I think this is a tough schedule, tough division, tough conference. Denver is a tough team to predict, period. Let me know what you think. Let me know where you stand. I've got it at 7-10, but I could totally be wrong. Let me know if you are more positive about Russell Wilson. Let me know how you feel about the Broncos this year. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Gronk spike the like button. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.